Hello, welcome to my channel. This is Sudarshana Starshine Star. In this clip, I'm going to be continuing my series that I've entitled What Every American Needs to Know. I'm going to be reading again a few pages from the wonderful book, Meet Your Straw Man and Whatever You Need to Know, which is published by www.nationallibertyalliance.org. It is available on Amazon, and I will be showing you the cover of that book at the end of this clip so you can make sure that you're getting the right one. But right now we're going to begin with 3 opening prayers to bless and to offer this knowledge session, this teaching session, this sharing session for the best and the highest. Om, Om, Om. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahmam Tasmahi Sri Guruvena Namaha. Om Suklam Varadaram Vishnum Sishivanam Chatubhujam Prasanavaranam Dhyaye Sarva Vigno Prashantaye. Om Bhur Bhuva Suvaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhago Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. In this clip, I'm going to be starting with a segment entitled Dealing with the Police. Years ago, a policeman was your friend and defender. Things have changed now that police forces have become commercial organizations dedicated to producing a profit by taking money from you in the form of speeding fines, parking fines, and any number of other charges. It was stated on national TV recently that in the last 13 years, 3,000 additional offenses have been invented. As each individual police force is a commercial company, in a way like a McDonald's restaurant in strategy, it has no authority to enforce anything, any more than a McDonald's has. The men and women who work under the banner of their local police force have 2 separate roles. When they take up their occupation, they take an oath of office, pledging to uphold the law. That oath, and nothing else, gives them the authority to act to enforce common law. That is, the few things which are listed near the start of the legalese section above. Listener, that was referencing, if you haven't seen part 1, part 2, and part 3 of the series, especially for this section dealing with the police, I would advise you to go and watch the part 1 of this series so that you'll understand exactly what is being said here. Okay, back to this section. It does not authorize them to do anything connected with the so-called government statutes. So they have been trained to use legalese to entrap uninformed members of the public. To be fair, it is highly likely that members of the police force are not aware of what they are doing and do not understand the difference between quote-unquote legal statutes, which are optional, and the lawful common law requirements, which apply to everyone and are not optional. Please don't get me wrong. Most policemen and policewomen do a great job and assist members of the public, often above and beyond the requirements of their job, opposing bullying, intimidation, fraud, etc., and comforting in cases of bereavement or injury. Excuse me while I turn this page. Admittedly, the commercial companies who control the police forces are working hard to end this kind of positive behavior, using ridiculous quote-unquote health and safety regulations as an excuse, even to the extent that police officers are instructed to stand by and watch somebody drown and not attempt to save them. This is not the choice of the officer, but the instructions of the owners of the company. Because these thousands of invented offenses don't apply to anybody unless they agree to be bound by them, it becomes essential for a police officer to, possibly inadvertently, persuade a member of the public to agree to subject himself to these unnecessary restrictions and agree to pay invented cash penalties to the local commercial company called the police force. The normal first attempt to establish the spurious dominance of the police officer is by him asking for your name. This is not an innocent question, and it is essential that you are careful in what you say, as there are legalese booby traps all over the place. One suitable reply is, "The law does not require me to provide that information," which is entirely correct and avoids pitfall number 1. And no matter how often the question is asked, the answer is always the same. It is important not to argue with a police officer, as that is another legalese booby trap, which makes you subject to thousands of hateful regulations designed to part you from your money. So only answer questions, ideally with a non-aggressive question, and don't volunteer any information. If the police officer says, "You were exceeding the speed limit," you could say, "Was I?" As you don't argue, nor do you say that the common law does not require anyone to keep speed limits, obey road signs, park only where directed, etc., even though that is perfectly true. Maxim: arguments are for fools. As mentioned before, if the police officer asks, "Do you understand?" your response should be, "No, I do not stand under you in this matter." As before, the question is a legalese trap and has nothing whatsoever to do with understanding anything which has been said. Under common law, an offense has only been committed if there is a victim, somebody who has been injured or killed, had possessions damaged or stolen, or who has been defrauded. So if the police officer keeps pushing you to agree to pay his company money when you don't need to, then a good question to ask might be, who is the victim? An alternative is to ask, what is the charge, or am I free to go? If you stick to these things, then the police officer has nothing to work on, as you have not agreed to be bound by statutes, you have not provided a name and address for him to write on an invoice or fixed penalty notice, as they like to call it, and you have not entered into a controversy by arguing with him or into dishonor by refusing him point blank. There is one other thing, and that is, without being aggressive or offensive in any way, you must not do anything which he tells you to do, because if you do, then those charming legalese people can see that you agree to stand under him and become subject to his legal, quote unquote, but not lawful authority, and so become liable to those thousands of cunning plans called statutes, carefully crafted in order to rob you in a perfectly legal but not lawful way. One thing which any police officer needs to become aware of is the fact that they do not have any security provided by the police force which employs them. In any situation which does not involve common law, the police officer is on his own, acting as an individual contractor, and as such is wide open to action against him, either under common law, if he is acting unlawfully, or by civil court action, if his actions warrant it. If there is failure to establish joinder, which is where a human voluntarily agrees to represent the straw man and so become subject to statutes, then the presumed authority of a police officer does not exist in any respect, and he is acting solely as an individual whose only authority is to enforce common law and nothing else. Now here's the next subtitle topic, registration. Most people believe that when they buy a new car, that they have to register it with the commercial company known as, turning the page, as the Department of Motor Vehicles. What very few people are aware of is the fact that the act of applying for registration confirms the transfer of the physical ownership of the vehicle from you, the purchaser, who paid the money, to the state. That is, you have given the vehicle away to a commercial company who has done nothing at all for you and which does not have your best interests at heart. Since it is unlawful to swindle anyone, I would be most interested to hear any reason why this registration should not be deemed to be unlawful, blatant, and an obvious fraud, for there has not been full disclosure of the silent and adhesive contract terms. The change of ownership is shown by the fact that you, the previous owner, are now sent a document stating that your straw man is now the quote-unquote registered owner of the vehicle, which you have just bought. You are left to pay for maintaining the vehicle, which you do not own, and which the actual owner will seize and sell the vehicle, which cost him nothing, if you, as an agent for the registered owner, do not keep on paying for the use of the vehicle. Seizing the vehicle would not be lawful if the vehicle did not belong to the company doing the seizing. The vehicle will be seized if the quote-unquote registration tax is not paid. That tax was originally introduced as a fund contributed to by the vehicle owners in order to build new roads and to maintain roads that exist. That was a reasonable idea, which means that all the roads in the country belong to the people who paid the money for them to be built and repaired. Local authorities say that they can't maintain roads properly as they do not have sufficient funds to do the work. The charge is more for vehicles of larger size on the excuse that they burn more fuel and so contribute more to global warming. The real purpose for the increase is to take more money from people who have no idea what is going on. There is even a proposal now that motorists be charged for every mile that they drive along the roads which they paid for and own. That, of course, is not the only stream of income from vehicles. A major source of income is from the massive tax on fuel for vehicles, and it has been stated that an incredible 65% of the selling price is the proportion which is not needed for the location, extraction, processing, and delivery of the actual fuel. In passing, it can be noted that vehicles can be run on water, compressed air, energy direct from the environment, permanent magnets, and even on gravity. It will without doubt be a shock to you that many of the inventors who have done this suddenly disappeared as soon as they started testing their prototypes. Far-fetched? I know of 5 people who have been told to cease and desist or else. When you understand the billions and billions in profit that are made through selling oil products, actions like that become very understandable, especially since the people who do these things own the police forces and the courts and know that there will be no comeback no matter what they do. So what about the driver's license? Under common law, humans have the right to travel freely, and that includes using a vehicle when traveling. The legalese people want to persuade you that you are no longer a traveler under common law, but instead you are a driver subject to their statutes. And they demand that a driver must have a driver's license, registration, tax, car insurance, and anything else that they can think up. If you wish to live in freedom and somebody asks to see your license, then the question is, why would I want one of those? A driver's license is only needed for the driver of a vehicle which is being used in commerce. It can be argued that transporting a straw man is a commercial undertaking, so it would be advisable not to have anything related to a straw man with you on the road. It is also important to not give your name, address, or supposed date of birth, or to show any form of ID, as that places you in a position of voluntarily submission by A, obeying the command of another human being who is of equal standing to you, B, associating yourself with and consequently representing a straw man who is automatically subject to all statutes, being itself a legal fiction joined to that fictional world. So, if you are not carrying a passenger who is paying for the journey, and you are not stopping off on the journey to sell things, and you are not transporting a straw man, then you are not a driver with a passenger, but are instead a traveler with a guest. Travelers do not need a driver's license. Postal demands. Each person generally gets a number of demands for amounts to be paid, bills. If you get a demand for payment, you will notice that it is not addressed to you, the human, but to the fictional straw man, which has a name which sounds like your name, but it is not the same. The name will be printed on the demand in all capital letters, or in rare cases, preceded by Mr., Mrs., or Miss, and any one of those names refers to the straw man, who sounds like you, and which has a creation date which matches what you have been told was your birthday. You can now pay this demand if you want to, but it is entirely optional. Remember, it is not you who is being billed. Also worth remembering is that you, the human, are bound by common law and not legal statutes, and common law does not require you to pay any form of tax. I think I'm going to continue this on the next clip because it goes into a very interesting section that really needs to be listened to well to be understood. So I'm going to end this segment of this clip for now, and let me show you the book. Here it is. Meet Your Straw Man and Whatever You Want to Know. You can get it on Amazon. And please excuse my wiggling camera. I'm now going to end this clip with the closing prayer. Thank you so much for staying with me through this. And if you like this clip, please remember to like and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. I forgot to mention what these objects are that are pictured in this clip. On the left, you see a framed photo of a supernatural saint called Shirdi Sai Baba. He took his Mahasamadhi in 1918. You can find out all about him by looking up Shirdi Sai Baba in Shirdi, India. And he's still around. He's still blessing everyone. He's for everyone. It's not about religion. You can practice any religion you like, and except Satanism, that is, and still listen to him and his guidance and feel his love and devotion and protection. And just, he's an amazing, amazing being to be aware of and to have in your life. He's called the grandfather for everyone, Shirdi Sai Baba. He's my Sadguru. And next to that, you see a picture framed in white of a Murti of Divine Mother. This is the form called Mahishasura Mardini Ma, a form of Kanaka Durga. And this is directly a beautiful, huge Murti that is in the ashram of my Swami, Sri Kaleshwara Swami, in Panakonda, India, which is in Andhra Pradesh state. Then the gold figure that you see there, that is an Om symbol. And I think you can recognize the candle and some pink Himalayan salt and the beautiful stargazer lily there. So thank you so much. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you soon. God bless.